The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. We will remember it when we are called upon to once again make the world's largest contribution to the United Nations. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit. America will put our embassy in Jerusalem. That is what the American people want us to do, and it is the right thing to do. No vote in the United Nations will make any difference on that. But this vote will make a difference on how Americans look at the UN and on how we look at countries who disrespect us in the UN. And this vote will be remembered. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host Jay, and this is the Objective Podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the 35th episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. The date is December 27, 2017. The year is almost done, and for me, 2017, it really flew. On a sadder note, there are many people who did not make it this far into the year, and I think that we need to really appreciate each day that we wake up. Life is extremely fragile. There are some people who didn't even make it to Christmas simply because of the conditions, the icy conditions on the road, driving to and from. And again, I think it's just something that, yes, the new year allows us to reflect and to appreciate new beginnings, but I think we should also just really be grateful to have made it thus far, because life is extremely fragile. I had an excellent time with my family and my friends on Christmas. We had a gift exchange. It was good. Christmas, just a good time to come together and just spread that holiday cheer. So I hope each and every one of you had a good Christmas with family and friends. I'm not going to do a quote of the day today, but I do want to share something with you. I was watching The Hunt on Netflix. It's a new show. Well, I don't know how new it is, but new for me. Started watching it. I think I'm on episode 3 right now, and I highly recommend it. I'm very fascinated and intrigued, by nature, space, underwater, life, species, and all that cool, mysterious stuff, right? There's so much to learn. And so I was watching The Hunt, and there are many things that stuck out to me in regards to how some of these species live, how they protect their young. In the world that we live in right now, it seems like the young are targeted, whether it be by businesses to get or to maintain business, like cigarettes, for example. You want to get them hooked at a young age, so you have customers throughout their lives, right? But not only like that kind of stuff, like physical things and tangible things you can purchase, just culture-wise, the youth are being targeted by the culture, right? And I just think it's so important that these animals, they protect their young, they shelter their young. And nowadays, if you shelter your kid, you're looked down upon like, just let your child live. Don't shelter them. But I think it's important to shelter your child in this world. I think that if you're going to train your child up, you teach them good morals, you give them a strong foundation, protect them from things they're not able to handle. And then when they become of age, they're able to hold their ground. They're able to use their training that they learned in home. And make right decisions. Everyone's going to mess up. Everyone's going to fall. Many will fail. But if you have that foundation, if you have that familiarity to, good decisions, good choice making, and good morals, a good moral foundation, I think that you're in a better position. This one species in particular, it's a type of bird called the auks. Not OX, it's AUKS. And basically these birds, they're born and they're the nests, I should say, are on a high mountaintop. Okay, And that's where these children are kind of raised by their parents. So at a certain age, the birds, the youth, they have to jump off of that mountaintop, and they have to basically soar down to the ocean, because when they reach the ocean, they're supposed to basically swim, I think it's like 100 miles south, before like the ice and the snow comes back. Very interesting. And it's just, I can go on for days about this stuff, but it's just really interesting how they know they have to do this stuff, this instinct that they have for their survival. It's really cool. But anyway, so these birds, these auks, they basically jump off. They're encouraged by their fathers to jump off, and they haven't used their wings before, but they jump off, and their wings are very stiff, so they're not able to really fly. All they can really do is glide, right? And it's really cool because when they jumped off, the father jumped right behind them. And in order to keep the little bird on track, the father would nudge them or push them sometimes to make sure they're on the right trajectory, so that they can actually reach the water. And I really took that, and there's so much to take from that, but I really took that and I said, wow, parents have a very important job. Parenting, sometimes you feel there should be some credentials for parenting. Sometimes you feel there should be some sort of prerequisite, but all you need, the only prerequisite you need is the right reproductive tools, right? And sometimes we look at some parents and we're like, that shouldn't be. But I think what it showed me is that parents, like, there is a inherent responsibility on parents, a very sacred and powerful responsibility to train and to guide their kids, guide them towards success. And, you know, some will fall short. But I think that if we live with the goal of you know, keeping our kids on the trajectory to success, I think that will have them better off. And I thank God for my parents, who have done their best. And I think we'll leave it at that because I still do have a show ahead. So I do hope that, you know, whoever you are, whatever stage you are in your life, whether you are a child, whether you are a teen who is still under your parents' guidance, maybe you can help you appreciate that more. And if you're a parent, you know, maybe it could remind you of that great responsibility that you have. And it will remind me for when I become a parent. Nikki Haley. Wow. Her name has been buzzing after the UN. They had, it was at the UN Security Council, December 8, 2017, where there was a vote for a resolution. The United States decided, as we know, since 1995, I believe it was, president after president said, we are going to move the embassy. We're going to move our embassy to Jerusalem. And president after president, they said they are going to do that. But every president that passed, from Bush, from Bill Clinton, Bush, Obama, now to Trump, and Trump actually decided, he said, this is what we're doing. We've been saying we're going to do it for so long. It's our right as a sovereign nation to decide where we are going to put our embassy. There has been overwhelming criticism on this move. And people think that instead of, you know, being a show of your own independence as a country, instead of doing that, it's more so causing an inflammation and more violence. It will act as a spark as more violence. And it's basically saying they have taken the side of Israel in this huge conflict between these Islamic countries and Israel. So the United States, they have taken a solid stand. They have literally dug their feet in and said, this is what we and the people have voted for overwhelmingly. This is what we're going to do. So at the UN Security Council, and the ambassador, the United States ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, had a speech. And in her speech, not verbatim, I implore you to check it out, she said that the vote, and depending on how these countries vote, it will be remembered. And she said, remember, we, as the United States of America, we make the most contributions to the UN. I believe it was about 3.3 billion come from the United States. And she was basically condemning the condemnation that they received for making that move that is inherently their right to make. The vote kind of went like this. Let me scroll down here. So there were 9 countries that voted no to the resolution. 35 countries, including Canada, abstained from the vote. Okay, so 35. 128 countries voted yes to this resolution. So as I said, there is huge condemnation and overwhelming disapproval of this move that President Trump made. The statement from Nikki Haley and the president doubled down on this, and it's causing a panic, especially in the MSM, saying, hey, this is just an example of how the president is dividing the country, or not the country, but dividing the country from the rest of the world. And then similarly, some of you may remember the G20 when Trump pulled out of the Paris Agreement in regards to climate change. Again, a lot of condemnation to people who believe that climate change is an issue and that we need to be contributing as countries for this global cause to kind of help the environment. And there's a lot of controversy around whether, any contributions that we as humans financially give, if it has any effect on climate change. Can it be reversed? Can it be slowed down? There's a lot of controversy on that. And the president decided, hey, you know what? Until there's more conclusive evidence, we're not just going to give money blindly to this cause. And we see, folks, that this is an example of the president putting America first. And after that vote that they had, where 128 countries voted for resolution and 35 abstained and 9 voted against, we're seeing now, Nikki Haley, I believe it was, came out and said that now they negotiated for the 2018-2019 contributions to the UN. They're going to cut $285 million worth of contributions to the UN. Again, they are the largest contributors to the UN with 3.3 billion. But now they're cutting, and we're seeing, folks, that the United States, the leadership, the current administration, they're not taking garbage. They're not bowing down to anybody. They have their interests, and they're putting themselves at the top. They're putting themselves in a position like, hey, we've been giving for too much. We've been carrying the burden for too long. And now that we want to decide where we're going to put our embassy, you're going to vote against us and condemn us. Well, that's fine. It'll save us a lot of money. And essentially, that's what the president said. And they are actually cutting $285 million from their original contribution. So very interesting story. I implore you, check out Nikki Haley's speech to the UN at the Security Council. I do like the position that the United States is taking. They recognize themselves as a superpower in this world, leaders in this world, and they're not willing to be pushed around, essentially. They're not willing to be subject to groupthink and to give, wantonly to causes, that are inconclusive. So I like it. I do. And people are saying, oh, you're putting America in a position where they're singled out and this and that. But at the end of the day, America is the greatest. And when I say greatest, I mean the most powerful country in the world. And so moving forward into 2018, I think it's going to be important to see what kind of decisions the president makes in regards to its sovereign nation, the United States. Very interesting. But it's inspiring, I think. It tells me, if you believe something, if you're convicted by something, if you're convicted that something is right, don't let outside forces sway you. If your principles are guided by moral, don't be swayed. Just push forward. Be tenacious. Be committed. Be devoted. That's all for today, folks. Make it your goal. Make it your objective. That no matter what way the winds blow, no matter who speaks in your ear, no matter what the culture or society tries to push as right or wrong, just make it your goal to be objective. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.